After giving a lot of talks, they can kind of get a bit repetitive sometimes. So I was looking for a way to kind of spice it up, do something different, and I really found my niche. Hi, it's Vanessa Ripone here. Thanks so much for joining. As a reminder, please like and subscribe if you're interested in this channel. I've mentioned in the past that I'm a toy engineer. What that means is I work at Spin Master, which is a global children's entertainment company that's created such brands as Paw Patrol, Hatchimals, Bakugan. As a toy engineer, I work in the product development team, and I'm actually going to be talking a little bit about that in this video, so I'll let future Vanessa describe that to you. But what is really great about how I entered Spin Master was through a management development program. So if you've ever heard of a management development program, it's basically a rotational program where in the case of Spin Master, you do 3 6-month rotations in different teams. It was an incredible experience. I learned so much, and I highly recommend new grads to try to find an MDP program like this one. What was really amazing about the program was we kept having these opportunities to speak to leadership in the organization. There was this one leader who shared this really incredible leadership exercise he had done in the past. I was really moved by the concept of this leadership exercise that I decided to just kind of do it in my spare time. In a nutshell, it's where you physically write out your life story and then you dissect your leadership or core values out of it. It's a pretty profound experience to think about your life from day 0 to where you are today, and obviously it brings up a lot of stuff. So after finishing the whole experience of writing down my whole life story and dissecting my values, I decided to figure out a way to incorporate it into my talks. Had this incredible opportunity where this organization, Discover E, was sending a whole film crew to Spin Master, and the goal of these talks was to share about how we were breaking the rules. So I figured, my whole life has kind of been breaking the rules. This is the first one of my talks where I really tried to incorporate a detailed amount of my personal backstory into the talk. So you can kind of see a bit of an evolution of my presentations here. It of course still is going to tell a bit of the story of Enterqueers, but this one's also going to include about working at Spin Master if you're interested in that. And similar to before, I was actually part of a panel. This was actually an international panel on Zoom, which was really amazing. And if you're interested in seeing the whole panel, I'm going to link it down below so that you can watch the other 2 women speak and then hear our Q&A after. As a reminder, I'm just kind of going through some old videos of me that already exist online. I do intend on this channel to eventually go into like the full life story and my values and such. But for the future of this channel, you can expect a vlog where I'm going to be talking about lifestyle, advice, and stories from the perspective of a queer woman of color. So if that interests you, please like and subscribe, and I hope that you have a great day. All the best.
It's all about breaking the rules. Thank you.
Vanessa Ripone is a product development EIT at Spin Master, an international toy company founded in Toronto, where she brings complex toy design ideas to life. Vanessa is a passionate advocate for intersectional diversity in STEM and has most notably founded the national nonprofit organization Enterqueers Canada, which serves 30 university LGBTQ engineering organizations and is run by students from coast to coast.
Hello everyone, my name is Vanessa Ripone and I am a product development EIT at Spin Master, and I'm also the founder of Enterqueers Canada. So I'm so excited to be here today to record this and talk to you all about my life story, and I'm hoping to take an approach of kind of talking about my professional journey as well as my personal one, and the timeline's going to be a bit all over the place, so I encourage you to bear with me, but hopefully it will all make sense. So I kind of want to start around the current state of where I'm at in life. So I am the founder of Enterqueers Canada. What that is an LGBTQ engineering organization, which is a incorporated not-for-profit that touches all of Canada. So what started as me when I was 19 years old, just being interested in finding other queer people to connect with at McMaster University, it just started as the McMaster Enterqueers and actually expanded all the way to Enterqueers Canada, this national body with 30 schools in 9 provinces. And that was a several-year journey, and what our pillars of are for Enterqueers are about education and advocacy, social connection, and about professional development. So all of the member groups and universities that participate in Enterqueers focus on those main 3 initiatives. And in founding EQ, I've had the incredible privilege and honor to talk about diversity and inclusion in so many different spaces and different audiences, whether it was at the National Council of Deans meeting with all engineering deans across the country in Prince Edward Island,
or whether it was NSERC, which is the national government research body, their gender summit, which was an international event in Montreal, getting to give a keynote to 500 people in the room. I've had some incredible experiences in promoting diversity and inclusion in the STEM space in my career. As well as a big part of EduQueers is giving content-related diversity trainings. So I've done a lot of talking about intersectionality, explaining different systems of oppression and how racism and classism and sexism and heterosexism all work together to create challenges and barriers for people like me and other minorities. So EQ is, of course, something I'm extremely passionate about and has been a really big part of my life for the majority of my undergraduate degree. But I graduated a couple years ago in May 2018. So now I act more in an advisory capacity to the team. And it's now entirely run by undergraduate and graduate students across the country, literally from coast to coast. So I get to just kind of support it now, which is great. In terms of my actual job and career, I am currently a product development engineer at Spin Master. So you might be wondering, what is this really cool room I'm in? I'm in a room called the Toy Box right now. So Spin Master is a Canadian-founded international toy manufacturing and entertainment company. And I work on the product development team in engineering. So essentially, I got into Spin Master doing their engineering management development program, which was about 3 6-month rotations in different operations functions. So I worked in product development engineering, I worked in supply planning or supply chain, and I worked in indirect sourcing. So this gave me like a really holistic view of how Spin Master's operations and manufacturing works. And I mean, we literally make toys. So I get the opportunity, whether it's to race cars and test their speed and take them apart, or whether it's flying fairies and making sure that their weight is evenly distributed and their center of gravity is working out. These are big parts of my job. And it's also a very collaborative leadership-based job. So I do a lot of project management. I do a lot of cross-functional leadership and teamwork with multiple teams, whether it's trying to help the brand team in their marketing message or the design team turn their ideas into real toys. It's been just an incredible experience. So those are kind of about where I'm at now with EQ and with Spin Master, which is all really, really great and really exciting stuff. But I really do want to talk about the journey that got me here, because sometimes I find it can be whether intimidating is the right word or overwhelming to kind of hear all this information. And I hate whenever people kind of like put me on the pedestal of like, oh, I did all this stuff in the past, or I had these experiences and I have this great job. Like these are all, true in certain extents, but I want to focus a bit on like what I've kind of been through to get here. So I want to talk a little bit about the hard stuff first, just to kind of get it out of the way. So my experience growing up was complex. So I'm a queer woman of color. My mom is an immigrant from Sri Lanka, and my father was the rest of his family was born in Italy, and he was the first one born in Toronto. So very, fresh into Canada, that family, that side of my family as well. And growing up, we just didn't have significant financial means by any sense of the definition. So we lived in a very well-off area. However, we were in the apartment above the store. So I kind of grew up in this way where I was struggling to fit in. I was one of the only people of color in my school. There was a very significant wealth imbalance between me and my peers, and it definitely weighed on me a lot. Unfortunately, I was also dealing with some other things going on with both my father and my stepfather at the time. So I don't want to get too much into the details because I don't want this to be too heavy or too intense, but I will say that my father did struggle with homelessness for a large portion of his life, related to his mental health and his addictions. And I experienced a lot of and witnessed a lot of, abuse-related things, domestic violence, and things targeted at me personally, which resulted in me kind of cutting off ties with my father at the age of 15. And then on my stepfather's side, we ended up in a court case battle where he pleaded guilty towards child sexual abuse. So I have been through a lot in terms of my upbringing and my family, but I also had a lot of great things that happened in and around that time in growing up. Specifically, my mom and my sister have been my rocks and my role models from the day I was born. They're both very, very driven career women. My mom is a social worker, and she literally sits there every day helping people and at their darkest, most challenging times, and has really instilled a sense of the importance of volunteering, the importance of giving back into me and my sister. And then my sister is this rockin' career, business-focused woman who's actually been living in England for the last decade. And she's now on the executive of her company that was just a small startup when she started a decade ago. So both of these women have been incredible personal role models to me and have helped me just really believe that there is no limit for women and that anyone can do anything related to their career. So I also think that for me, I had a lot of inspiration through different means, like the first time I learned about Marie Curie in like grade 10 or 11 chemistry class, just hearing about this woman who had won a Nobel Peace Prize and had all these scientific discoveries. Because in those classes, you typically only hear about men that discovered things at different points. But I found just, having any kind of role model or visibility of people who've done amazing, successful things in their past really did go a long way for me. And even as ridiculous as it is, Harry Potter, like Hermione Granger taught me about the importance of being super dedicated in school and like how you can lead and be in a team of men, and they all know that, you're the one who's going to have the answers, and that's totally fine in that kind of dynamic. And so I actually have like a Harry Potter tattoo because it reminds me of that thing that's really important to me, and where I learned a bunch of morals and got really excited about being an ambitious person and doing a lot of things. So yeah, for me, the journey to enter engineering, as I kind of mentioned, I was going through a lot growing up, and I didn't really have anyone in my direct life who was really explaining to me what engineering was or what I could do. And I ended up it was one colleague of mine or peer of mine who we were in the same swimming lessons, who he was telling me about how he started chemical engineering, and then a friend's dad who was actually working in engineering in Bombardier. They both kind of explained to me what engineering was, and I just knew at the time I really liked chemistry and I liked calculus. Those were my two favorite classes in school. And I knew that because of my kind of financial upbringing, I wanted a career that would be financially stable. That was like a really important thing for me, was to be able to support myself so that I could, navigate this world that we live in really independently. And they kind of encouraged me to go into engineering. I got into McMaster University, had a wonderful experience in my undergrad. And I did a lot of co-ops, and I did an exchange. So what that meant was right out of first year, I worked at Bombardier Aerospace. I had the opportunity to work at their like 4,000 or 5,000 person facility at Downsview, working as a maintenance engineering intern and getting to spend a lot of time in their materials department. So for my second co-op, I did an internship in France. I went to the Grenoble Institute of Technology for 8 months, where I did 4 months of actually doing research in the lab of their materials department and 4 months of school for the September to December time. And I got to just experience what it was like to work in an international team. I was literally sitting with someone from China, someone from Brazil, someone from France, and myself, and that was my like office space. And we were doing very technical research, and I got to kind of explore the world of academia. Then I started working at PepsiCo. So I did 4 months working at the Quaker plant in Peterborough. which was, again, a manufacturing facility where I literally got to see like oats being produced or oatmeal being produced, like cereal, Chewy bars, and I got to work as more of an engineering project manager. And that also led me out to Vancouver, where I did 8 months of working on their beverages side of Pepsi. So 8 months at Pepsi Beverages, again, on the manufacturing floor, seeing this time the extremely automated process of how the cans and bottles and Gatorade and bag and box, which is like soda machines, how all those are manufactured, and getting to work in that environment, doing a lot of Lean Six Sigma manufacturing work, and learning a lot about that whole world. And that's really where I fell in love with manufacturing and decided that I wanted to use my materials engineering kind of background in the specific context of applying it to industrial applications. And I wasn't as passionate about like steel processing or iron making or nickel making. And I instead was more interested in making things for like consumer packaged goods. And that's where I found Spin Master. So I was interested. I've lived in Toronto my whole life. I was interested in staying at home for, kind of my early young life of graduating university and, the foreseeable future. And this job is amazing and crazy and very, very rewarding. I've had some incredible opportunities here through the management development program to really develop myself as an individual. And now on the product development team, just yesterday, I got the news that I'm now going to be backfilling for some of our New York product development engineers, which is going to send me to New York a little bit. So it's just like an incredible opportunity to apply engineering in a unique way. And so kind of the three messages I really wanted to leave the audience with. The first one is about resilience and persistence. So resilience in the spectrum of, I kind of alluded to some difficult times I had in life, and they really weighed on my mental health. And there were multiple times where I was actually even suicidal and didn't really see an end to some of the pain and the darkness I was going through at the various times. But today, when I experience joy, whether it be big or small, I'm just so grateful that I get to be on that other side and experience those things. So really persevering through dark times, but also even within the scope of ENGIqueers, like if I hadn't kept going with EQ and just kept emailing, kept calling, kept going to different conferences, finding the right people to help and leveraging other people so that I wasn't doing everything on my own, it wouldn't be what it is today. So whether it's any kind of goal you have, if you just keep your resilience and persistence up, like that is going to do wonders for your career. The second one is about kind of truth and honesty. So being truthful and telling the honest facts can sometimes be really challenging and can weigh on you. However, you can sometimes really motivate others by just being honest and being candid about what you're experiencing, being true to yourself, being authentic. Like, for instance, I have a rainbow tattoo, which helps, whenever someone sees it, kind of end up having a conversation about how I'm queer. And like, I love whenever that happens. And the last one is about obligation to society. So I kind of mentioned how my mom has been a social worker my whole life. Just knowing that people are going to be going through things all around you, and you might not always know it. So just having that sense of volunteering and the passion to give back and care about others is just, again, whether it's helping you in your career or just helping you go through life, it's just a really important thing to not forget about those less fortunate than you and to do what you can to make the path easier for those who are walking through your footsteps. So thank you so much. It's been a great opportunity to do this, and I look forward to the Q&A.